Hello all, and welcome to this month's edition of Umbraco's Technology webinars, where we, as always, try to inspire and connect Umbraco users with great tech. My name is Jesper Lyby, and I'll be hosting today. And today it's all about composable, headless, and data. Let me introduce the new tech partner, Enterspeed. Enterspeed is a BFF, aka backend for front end, or maybe let's end up calling it something else. I'll let Toge and Emil decide that in a second. Both Toge and Emil are from Enterspeed. Thank you both for joining. And today we also have a special guest, Daniel from Carlsberg. Thank you for joining us, Daniel. Before we get started, I just want to say that if you have any questions, there will be a Q&A in the end. Please write your questions in the chat. This webinar will last approximately 30 to 45 minutes based on your eagerness to ask questions. As always, it's being recorded and we will send it to you and also be shared at a later time at YouTube. But Toge, Emil, please tell us more about Enterspeed.
Thank you, Jesper. So hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in here on a Friday afternoon. I really appreciate that you take your time to understand what we do a little bit better. So basically, what we would like to present to you today is a little bit about Enterspeed, why we call ourselves BFF, and why we want to say that the solution between us and Umbraco give you a very powerful offer to your customers and to the market. Basically, what we want to help with is to make headless simpler, faster, and better. And we're going to show you a little bit about how we do it and why we do it. So first of all, just to start what we're going to present today, we have a small introduction on Enterspeed. That's going to be me. And then my good colleague here, Emil, who's our CTO, will take a look under the hood of Enterspeed, give you some actual code examples, which we really like. And then in the end, Daniel will show a little bit and talk a little bit about how they're using it at Carlsberg, which we are really proud of to say that both he's here with us and we really appreciate it, Daniel, but also to understand a little bit better how you can utilize it with your customers or with your Umbraco back in the days. Good, who am I? So not a long introduction to me. My name is Toge. I'm the CEO of Enterspeed. I've been working in this space for the last 10 years. I've been doing microservices for at least 8 years now. I started my work in the digital space and e-commerce space at heading up the digital challenge for the largest retailer in Scandinavia called Selling Group, where I worked with a SAP Hybris installation, which was the starting point of me starting to understand how can we separate the stack so we don't rely so much on SAP Hybris. So I have a team of practitioners who has been working in this space for at least 5 years, everyone, more like 10 years. So it's really cool. And we have tried a lot of things ourselves. We have failed a lot, but we have also learned how to build the right way of doing this. And this is what we're going to present today. So first of all, I would like to just say that Enterspeed really loves Umbraco. We love Umbraco because it's the best editor experience out there. It gives developers huge flexibility and it's open source. And together with us, we truly believe that we can deliver a powerful offer that is unseen in the market. And I will come back to what we really can do with teaming up with Umbraco and show the world that we can deliver a truly powerful offer to all of you who want to think headless or go headless. So we are proud to say that we are sharpened by our customers and we have a lot of good logos, particularly those of you who are working in Scandinavia knows some of these huge clients, but we will love to engage more in the US as well. So that's where the coming logos will be coming from as well. A little bit about Enterspeed, and if I should tell it really simplified, what we do is that we can take all sorts of source system that can be CMSs, that can be PIMs, that can be random data sources. We have open source integrations to Umbraco 7, 8, and 9 because we really like Umbraco. But we can take it from older versions to newer versions. And basically what happens here is that via our ingest API, we push all the data towards Enterspeed layer. In the Enterspeed layer, we do low-code schema definitions, and I know Emil will come back to that in a minute. but we unwrap all the data sources, all the data packages that comes in, and then we do the data transformation in our layer, meaning that you don't need to do the data transformation inside Umbraco or inside Sitecore or inside whatever you have out there. So it's made for developers because we are using low-code principles. We are not doing no-code. We know that you need to actually be able to make this, craft this yourself. So that's why we have made it low-code schemas. And then once we know how you want to use the data, then we can put it on the shelf. We have a combination of some Azure and some Redis that makes it extremely fast. And what we do after that is that we can duplicate it out to the nearest Azure data center in the world. That is up to you. Right now we are in Western Europe, but we're also in Southeast Asia. And I know Carlsberg would utilize that very shortly, that we can put data out of Southeast Asia. So we can actually control what data we put where. And that gives us the opportunity to deliver it extremely fast to the rest of the world. So we have a high SLA on some of our deliveries, and Emil will probably show even more that we can deliver data extremely fast to the front end, meaning that now we have created a multi-source decoupled data transformation that can deliver fast out of the box. Instead of me just saying all sorts of buzzwords, let's see some code to see how are we actually doing it, because that's the interesting part here. Emil, over to you.
Thank you, Toby. And I will now give it a bit of a background to explain some of the basic concepts before I go into actually showing the demo. The first couple of principles I want to highlight is that we take in the data in the ingest API, and then we have this schema layer where we look at what is the appropriate schema we need to apply to this specific source entity. And in the schema, it's defined how this data should look when you need to request it in your front-end application. Then we generate what we call a view, so that we prepare all the data so it's ready to be fetched by the front-end application. And then when you fetch this from your front-end application, you use our delivery API. One way to think about Enterspeed is as a key value store. And we have two types of keys. The first type of keys is the URL. And the URL, that's when you want to map your pages in your CMS to have a headless counterpart. So that's for showing all of the content that's on this specific page you want to show. The second kind of keys is the handles, and the handles are used for all of the different components that are shared across the different pages. So it could be navigation, it could be footer, it could be dictionary items, also from Umbraco. So that's how we then fetch the data from Enterspeed. And one of the reasons why we have these two kind of keys, and you can build up your different components, is that we want to make sure that we can deliver all the data you need in one HTTP request. When you're building a server-side rendered application, it's critical that you pretty much only use one HTTP request and it's delivered super fast, so you can get the server response time that you need to deliver the customer experience and the user experience that the users expect. And I'll show this live in just a second. This is how data looks when it's set into Enterspeed. We then have the schemas. And for this particular schema, we're using the URL way of routing the data. And it's basically just a rather simple mapping of the data you have in your source and make it available in your front end. And this is an example of how that response look when you fetch it from the delivery API. To put this into context, how would you then use Enterspeed in a specific project? In this example, one of our customers have their PIM system, and Umbraco as a CMS sends the data to Enterspeed, where it's prepared and made ready. And then for the highly dynamic parts, like the basket calculations, the searching in Algolia, and personalization in Relevise, they, like our partner in this, have created their own custom BFF that does this layer on top of Enterspeed and all the dynamic parts, and make it available to the server-side rendered application. Another example of an architecture for Enterspeed is where you want to use a static site generator. So this is more in the Jamstack genre of websites. And here we have what we call a routes API that you can fetch the routes that you want to generate for your site. So you can use a front-end framework, could be Next, it could be Next or whatever, that just takes a list of URLs and then generate the sites, the pages, and make them available to be hosted. Otherwise, it's the same concept with the different sources that is ingested into Enterspeed. And also notice that the thin blue line, so this is where we actually also can take data that's been ingested into Enterspeed and then is sent to, for instance, Algolia. So you use Enterspeed to glue the different parts of your system landscape together. And the last thing about this one is that when you have this API layer on top of all your data sources, you can also use your data in something different than a specific front-end application. It could be a mobile app or whatever you prefer that can fetch something from our delivery API. Just a couple of words on the integrations that we have already made. We have Umbraco 7, 8, and 9. We have Sitecore 8 and 9. They are open source, available in GitHub and on NuGet, so they can be installed into your project. We have a Struct integration that's also open source. It's currently an Azure function, so you can fetch the data from Struct and have that inside Enterspeed, and then use that for your front-end applications. And behind the scenes, we're also working on a Perfion integration, and also we have this Algolia integration that we are working on to push the data to Algolia, so that all the data is available in Enterspeed. Yes, so demo time. And of course, it happened here. I have a Umbraco running, and I'll just need to make sure I can log in. And my super secret password. Because here I have pretty much a plain vanilla Umbraco running. I installed some demo data, but otherwise it's a plain Umbraco. So now I want to install the Enterspeed source integration. So that is going to install, and then we'll boot up Umbraco again. And while that is booting up, I can show you here we have Enterspeed. I've already set up some basic schemas and some data sources. I have one for the published data in Umbraco and one for the draft data in Umbraco. And over here we have some of the schemas. And let's see if we got the Umbraco installation booted up. It appears so. And now we have an Enterspeed settings section. Since I tested this out and tried this out before, this data is already saved, or appears already. But now Enterspeed is configured, and I can go to the pages, the content, and I can just simply do a publish, and all of the content is then made available in Enterspeed. So we can see now in Enterspeed, we have the data available. And that is working nicely. And then I have a front-end application here that then fetches the data from Enterspeed. And just to simply show how this works, this could be different offer, could be HL Jensen, for instance, if we do a save and publish, then that data is immediately available in Enterspeed. This is also where you want to notice that Enterspeed is not a traditional cache that needs to be a traditional proxy cache that needs to be hit before the cache is actually hydrated. So in this way, every time something is changed in the underlying data or in the schema, we regenerate the views and made it available for the next HTTP request that comes in. So let me show you how these schemas then actually work, because this is what Enterspeed is about. I'm just gonna make this as simple as possible, just to hope that everybody can follow along. So I've created a simple schema. It listens to the content page, document types. I'm routing it by URL, and the only property I have is actually of the property type. Now this is just admittedly a very dumb schema that doesn't do anything, but for demo purposes, I like to show this because it's also very easy to follow along to see what's going on. In Enterspeed, you can see the generated views, and it's ready, and you can see they're all just the same. So that's not much fun. But to continue working on this example, then we can see how Enterspeed works with this simple mapping. Here we have a headline property we want to available in our API, and we have the page title mapped from our source in Umbraco. And down here we have the blocks property, and the blocks property is, as you know, in Umbraco, when the editor is using the block editor, they can insert whatever content they want in whatever that's available and in whatever order they want it. So to be able to handle that, we are mapping this specific block editor to a specific, something we call a partial schema. So the actual mapping of how this particular block editor looks is done in the partial schema. So I will just test this out and make sure that it works. And before I publish it, and that appears to be green and it looks to be working. So I go ahead and just have to save this one and deploy. And now in the generated views section, we can see that we actually have some data. Yes, so that's the basic features of how schemas works in Enterspeed. One thing that I alluded to before was the concept of using also the preview data. And for that example, we can see if we want to make this. I think we have a fairy tale about the happy family. We want to see how if we can change the mood of that one. So we're gonna call it the sad family, but we want to look how that looks in a front end first. So I can go and turn on my front end into a preview mode. That's a preview model we have that is in Next.js for this example, and we put a secret in there. High five, you rock. And now we can see we're in preview mode, and we can go over and see that we have now the sad family as it looks in the preview, and also on the page there. So that is how you could implement a preview on your headless solution using the Nox preview and with Enterspeed. Yes, and the next thing I want to show you. Now we are switching over to also see it from the perspective of the HTTP request. What is actually going on behind the scenes? Here I have requested a page called jobs because I want to create a job section on my bookstore. And I can insert some data into Enterspeed, and we're using the Enterspeed ingest API, and I'm just sending a blob of JSON. So everything that can send JSON can send data to Enterspeed. So I can go ahead, send that into Enterspeed. And if we switch back to Umbraco, we can see here we have a job page. And here we have the content of Umbraco. We have the jobs, we have the content over here. And then, because I'll just briefly show how that also looks into Enterspeed. You can see we have the data source demo HR system with the 2 jobs I just inserted. And then if I fetch these from the via the API, so you have the courier. Again, we are just fetching the same page we did before. And there we can see that we now have the data from a different data source, and we have that merged on the Enterspeed side. So that was a basic demo of some of the basic concepts in Enterspeed. And let me just go back to here, because that ends the demo. From my side, just want to conclude that I'm looking forward to Code Garden this summer, and luckily we are back having it in person. So I'm very much looking forward. Hopefully, I'm going to see some of you at Code Garden. So I'm looking forward to seeing you and telling more about Enterspeed. So, but for now, I want to switch it over to Daniel from Carlsberg, who's going to tell about their experience in the Carlsberg group of using Enterspeed.
Yes, thank you, Emil. First of all, thank you for the invite. I'm Daniel from Carlsberg. I'm a backend developer, and I am currently the technical responsible for all the Umbraco ecosystem. And picking up Toke's words, Carlsberg also loves Umbraco, because we have around 200 websites running Umbraco. Of course, 99% of them are based on the monolith architecture, but we have 2 applications, and that's for those applications that I want to talk about that are using Enterspeed. One of them is related to one of our e-commerce system, and the other one is for our global policies plugin. So why did we choose Enterspeed? I think that Emil already covered all the technical details, so I think it's more interesting if I talk about how Enterspeed touched and impacts our developer lives on a daily basis. And I think that there are 4 points that are very important for this decision that we took. The first of all is the separation of concerns, because as an Umbraco developer, we have our naming conventions, we have our data structure, we have our way of work. For the other side of the table, for the front-end developers, for the mobile developers, they may have a different naming convention, a different structure. And on other systems that we worked, headless API CMSs or some on-premises headless APIs, this is very hard to achieve. And using Enterspeed and having the hub that Enterspeed provides us is quite simple. So me as an Umbraco developer, I can build using my own naming conventions, using my structure. Front-end guys could do whatever they want, and then we talk and we unite everything on the Enterspeed hub. And it's very, very simple. And I think that both sides are very happy with this way of work, where they can have their namings, we can have their namings, and as a developers, we know that this is always a thing. We have, well, fastest time to market, of course, because on smaller changes like property name changing or structure changes, we don't have to change code. We don't have to deploy code. We don't have to merge code. We just have to go to the hub and change the schemas directly. Of course, we have the environments there. We can test everything, but not having to deploy any code, it's very, very fast to implement a new feature or to upgrade a property or something that we already have. Then another thing that I think is very useful, it's the testing scenarios, because we always get to a point where something is wrong on production but is working well on development or on localhost. And using Enterspeed, we have the ability to put some production data source pointing to a localhost API, so we can test the things that are on production on our local host on a safe environment, and that's pretty cool. And my last point is about Enterspeed low-code hub, because on Carlsberg we have .NET developers, Java developers, React developers, JavaScript developers. We have all the kind of developers that you can imagine. And using Enterspeed, anyone can go to the hub and change or create a new schema, because it's just JSON. If you know JSON, you will do fine with Enterspeed. Using the Umbraco SDK or using the REST API, you're always good. You don't have to go to a specific tech stack to go with Enterspeed. You can go wherever you want. And I think these 4 points were very, very good to achieve for us, Carlsberg, for the backend developers, for the front-end developers, for everyone. And we are very happy using it. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. Toge, Emil, any follow-ups to Daniel's input and recommendations, I might say?
Recommendations from our side. We are just, I'm sitting here and I haven't discussed with Daniel what to say or what he should say. So I'm just smiling all over my face and say, it's always nice to hear that the customers, they really appreciate what we do and what we try to reach. So basically what Daniel has been saying is that we want to be the developer's best friend. We want them to be able to have enough power and control themselves without the responsibilities of making sure that their Cosmos DB or whatever works. So we know a lot of people is building something similar outside in the small system integrators all over the world. But here's a product that they can take out on off the shelf, start working on, and building really awesome solutions. And what Daniel had been doing in Carlsberg has just been amazing. So following up how suddenly he said, you know what, I'm using an arbitrary database to push into Enterspeed, and we're using that on top. That was just a fantastic experience. So really appreciate what is being done on the platform, and we look forward to see even more developers actually try it out, do crazy stuff on our platform, and discuss with us, is this at all possible? We think it is, we hope it is. If it's not, then let's have a discussion on how we can make it possible in exactly your case. One final remark from my perspective is that what we do hope is that everybody listening to this, or some colleagues or somebody else, go to Enterspeed.com, test, make a tenant yourself, make an ingestion of your own data. Try it out. If you have any questions, any concerns, please call, please write. We'd love to hear the feedback. We would love to work to you guys and make it even better for you as an experience. We have a long roadmap ahead of us with a lot of awesome features that we already now want to do. But if you have something in particular that says, this is what brings me over the line, call us. We would love to have that dialogue. I think with those words, we can only say that we still believe that with Umbraco and with us, there is a powerful offer that the market has still not have seen yet.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's open the Q&A. So start hitting the chat with those questions, folks. I have a question myself to start with.
Yeah.
Toge or Emi, could you say something about best fit for customers? What kind of clients? Now you have Carlsberg here today, and you shared some logos earlier on the presentation. Yeah. But how do you see a good fit for your product and customers?
Yeah. So if I should start in a very simple terms, it's actually those customers that has either multi-site or multi-source. So that's where you have something that you want to merge and deliver on multiple sources. That is definitely one thing, or multiple sites. So if you're just one-to-one, you are okay with a monolith kind of structure. So a normal classical way with a CMS and a front end together. However, if you want to go headless, there is a huge opportunity here for you to actually utilize us as the middle layer in between. We see ourselves as some sort of abstraction layer. Then a little bit broader, what you can use us for, if I should mention 3 core use cases. One could be if you are almost end of life. It could be that you are stuck on a Sitecore 8 platform and don't know where to go. Then we can be utilized as a middle layer that's actually starting the journey towards a different CMS. Could be Umbraco. That's at least a business case in doing that. But it could also be another CMS or a simpler upgrade. So that's one thing. The end of life challenges is one thing. Then the second one is that we also experience some companies that has tried out headless, but is struggling with stability and performance. Because the CMS system that they're utilizing, it doesn't deliver the flexibility nor the performance that they would like. We can actually be that middle layer that publish all the content that is needed there. So that's another use case. And then the final use case, which we are also working on right now, is if you have a slow product catalog or static data that needs to be shown in one way or the other. That's a third concrete problem that we see and talk to customers about.
And I will also want to add, when you need to go into to a global audience, yes. So you need your data in multiple regions, then that's also one of the use cases where what we have done offering as a SaaS product hopefully would make it much easier for people to actually deliver those kinds of services.
Yeah, and just before we went on this call, Daniel said that they are right now fetching or are going to fetch all the data for their web shops in Laos and in Malaysia out of Southeast Asia. So that's one option, and we could easily do the same for a US company located in US, or as some of many is struggling with. Australia could be another instance here.
Which leads me to my second question: is where are you operational?
We are located in Aarhus, Denmark.
And are you operational all around the world?
For right now, we have from a technical perspective, we have what we call delivery regions. We have those in Western Europe and in Southeast Asia. But it's just a matter of what is the need from our customers, and it's relatively easy to. The big thing, as developers know, is going from 1 to 2, then going from there. It's relatively straightforward for us. So.
Yes. So if there is a US customer here sitting and say, I want it in US, we can do that fairly fast.
And if there's anyone from the US, good morning to you.
Yes.
Enjoy the coffee. Yeah. One final question from myself, Toge and Emi. Pricing, the elephant in the room. What can you tell us about pricing?
So pricing is difficult, particularly when we are still at the stage as where we are. But basically, we have 2 models. We have a simple model where you have one CMS source and you have serving one side. That's one price, and it's fairly slow. It's not fairly slow, it's fairly low. It's 200 euros, 199. And then if you go to enterprise, you want more sources, you want more size, you want probably more SLA or something like that. Then we have an enterprise model that starts not very high, I would say. I think you will be surprised to hear some of the customers what they are paying right now, but it's in the low end of what I else see in the enterprise segment, I would say.
Okay, thank you. So
and just to mention, it's flat rate. So we're actually building a flat rate, so you know exactly what you're gonna spend every month. And that's a really important one. We have tested out a couple of times with some variable models. But what we do see is that the flat rate is what works, and that is what we can deliver on in many cases. So it will be low, it will be flat rate.
And you're a fairly new startup. So what lies ahead of you within the next couple of months, besides joining us at Code Garden, obviously, but and doing a great speak, but what lies ahead?
So we have some really big things in our pipeline. What we are beefing up right now is the developer experience in terms of multi-source. So working with multiple sources, we have defined some more concepts and are releasing it right now. Some really cool stuff on working multi-source. Then hopefully we will also have a first step on releases, how to release together with Enterspeed. So you can put it into at least the first couple of things. You can take a couple of steps towards CI.
CI/CD pipeline. Yes. Yeah, because as a developer, you also want some control and some predictability when you actually deploy your solutions. We have that ourselves, of course, and then we want to put that also into place so that Enterspeed just fits into the development workflow that you normally have. So this is some of the big ticket items that we are currently working on.
Yeah, that's the short-term focus. We have a great idea about how to do a migration bus as well, and we are looking, of course, towards GraphQL at a later point in time. And we are also looking at more integrations with more systems. So we are looking towards Optimizely, Salesforce, SAP, and see what makes sense in those cases. We will do that customer by customer, but that will be definitely something where we can have a play to be at a broader relevance to a lot of customers. But the one and most important thing is that we want dialogues with developers to discuss how can we improve the experience for them. We want to be what is in investor language called B2D, business to developers, and we want to deliver a great developer experience. So if there's anything we can do in that case, that's our first priority.
Great. And just underline that you are in fact doing a speak at Code Garden. So you will be speaking to a lot of Umbraco developers on June 15th, is it? Or 16th? I can't remember which date you're on, but we're all looking forward.
Yes,
yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. What a great presentation, what a great product. And thank you very much for integrating with Umbraco. We will be back with yet another tech webinar in May. And until then, have a great weekend, everyone. Take care. This will be recorded and shared. So thank you, everyone. Bye now.
Bye. Thank you.